Hello, and thank you for listening to AI Success Factors podcast. We help enterprise adopt artificial intelligence. This is Samuel Matthew, your host. In simple terms, AI adoption is a three-step process: identifying the right AI opportunity, tying it back to a business value, and align it to a business goal. If you're a leader, needs help demonstrating ROI on your existing AI initiatives, or want to get a buy-in for a new AI initiative, you are in the right place. Our mission is to empower enterprise leaders to navigate, transform, and lead by applying AI into their business. In this show, we interview analytical and business leaders who successfully implemented AI into their business. In the conversations we feature, you will learn how these companies reach strategic business goals. It's a pleasure and privilege for our listeners to develop a point of view from the insights shared in this podcast. Today on the AI Success Factors podcast, we're excited to welcome Kunal Sharma, a distinguished leader in data engineering and analytics. Kunal serves as the head of data engineering and analytics at Archrock Inc. Archrock is a key player in the U.S. energy infrastructure sector. The company specializes in providing critical midstream natural gas compression services. It enables a safe and efficient transport of natural gas across the country. Archrock has over 1,100 employees and a fleet of approximately 3.6 million operating horsepower. Kunal brings over 15 years of experience in artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, and enterprise data systems. He has held leadership roles at BHP Billiton and L&T Infotech. In these roles, he tackled complex challenges across the energy, manufacturing, and infrastructure sectors. Kunal's innovative approach to AI and data has transformed how organizations align technology with strategic goals. His efforts have consistently driven operational excellence and innovation. Here is our conversation. Hey Kunal, welcome to AI Success Factors podcast.
Good to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Hey Kunal, to kick things off, the midstream sector of oil and gas industry operates behind the scene. It plays a crucial role in our energy supply chain. It's responsible for transporting, storing, and processing the oil and gas that powers so much of our world. The fact is, this industry is navigating a significant shift. Technologies like AI, IoT, and advanced analytics are unlocking the opportunities that were almost unimaginable a decade ago. We're talking about real-time data insights that can prevent costly pipeline failures, AI-driven solutions for optimizing operations, and innovative tools that help reduce emissions, all in a sector traditionally built on legacy infrastructure and processes. That's going to make our conversation interesting today. Let's dive in. For listeners unfamiliar with midstream sector, can you provide a snapshot of what its role in energy infrastructure?
Well, I'll keep it very simple. As you mentioned when you were introducing the topic that we'll be taking deep dive in today, any movement of gas and oil, and when you're extracting an oil, gas is a subproduct of it, right? So whether you're going for gas or you're getting it as a subproduct, whether you're onshore or offshore, subsea, then you need to do something with it, right? Well, you need to compress it and then move it, and you generate energy out of it as well. So in any movement of gas, you require certain equipments, you require an infrastructure, which is a midstream infrastructure that supports the oil and gas industry here.
Thank you for that background information, what this industry does. Yeah. Let's dive into how data and AI is reshaping the way operations are managed and optimized within this highly regulated industry, oil and gas. And one of the challenges with heavy industries like oil and gas is the data volume is huge. A significant amount of data is non-structured, like telemetry data, IoT data, and such. With the innovation of AI, how the efficiency improved in the midstream operations in the recent years?
Well, so I will start with the data and the source of data, right? Like as you mentioned, we are getting high velocity, high volume data. There are three types of data: structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data. And if you ask me this question a decade back, I will say relational data is the only data that's been generated. But now with multiple sources of data, different type of data. You require a platform that can hold the data centralized so you can see the data contextually, right? And a majority of the companies exploring first cost efficiency in churning the data because you can bleed money faster if you're not experienced, and then storing the high volume data lifecycle that matters, and you require centralization of the data. All three of kind of data can be stored efficiently with lifecycle applied to it. Otherwise, the cost will grow over there as well. So once you have optimized and figured out that I can scale and process data with the distribution and that parallelism that is needed, then it's a matter of, okay, structuring it, organizing it in a way that AI can then unlock the power of data and you're getting insight out of it. So the journey starts with all the source having a proper middleware and integrators that can bring the data, that can centralize it. From centralization and providing the enough scalability for data to grow naturally, plus in a proper managed way, then it's about, okay, now I'm going to apply all the tools that we have uncovered in last couple of years, whether it's classical mathematical model or machine learning model, whether it's advanced deep learning, or in today's world, we are talking about Gen AI, that you want to implement Gen AI on top of it. But yes, journey starts with data. And if I can take an opportunity, journey actually starts with human interaction with the data, with a process that either you're entering a data in a system or like sensor in the space of IoT is generating the data by itself. And that's where the journey actually starts. Even setting up sensor, you go through certain configuration where you have min-max value for a sensor to pick up an outlier, and a lot of configuration. It requires human intervention to set it up. So yes, journey starts from people, process, then data interaction, and data transiting into either system like data lake or data lake houses now. And then from there on, you go and do the analytics on top of it.
Good. When we talk about the data processing, it varies significantly across industries. For example, the way data being processed in the BFSI is different from oil and gas. How the data processing in midstream different from other industries?
Well, so there is a common element of data, right? ERP data is going to be there. The difference you're going to see is IoT data. Not many industries have IoT infrastructure, because in the midstream sector, you are not just managing the equipment, you are taking care of the lifeline of equipment. So you're measuring a lot of things to make sure that it's operating efficiently, plus the lifeline has increased, and you're not operating under unusual conditions, right? We want to keep the production up and high and then produce better, and with the uptime that's needed for the production that is required, first for the operators and then for us as a midstream companies to support the operators to keep their production level up and high and then control them when it's needed.
Good. Let's talk about how these technologies been applied on the ground. I would love to hear about your specific examples where AI is truly transformed midstream operations. Are there any specific areas where you have seen AI deliver the most tangible results, or maybe even exceed expectations? For example, operational efficiency, as you mentioned, or other areas like risk management, automation, complaints. There are multiple areas these technologies can be applied. So where you see these most tangible results?
Well, the journey will start from understanding where you stand currently. So you need to start from perspective of where we are in the journey, where we want to achieve, where we want to go, and what we want to achieve. Measuring is super critical to attain the maturity, and then from operational excellency, where you want to draw automation, where you want to implement decision science, all that depends on that. The tangible outcome you're going to see is operational efficiency for sure, risk management, that you have more meaningful information ahead of you when you're planning to perform any task on the equipment. So you can equip your technicians who are going into the field and make them ready so they perform their job faster. They have all the information available to them and they do it fast and then get back safely. Right? That's so
Right.
all these aspects, you can unlock the power through AI now. Because previously, if there is no AI, then you either going through multiple documentation, you are scrambling for information, and with information digitized and growing exponentially, you need to equip your technicians. Basically, either you build a use case around an AI, maybe Gen AI, in the case where somebody can have an interaction with Gen AI and can look for information. Give me history about this equipment. Give me everything that all the task and maintenance activity performed around an equipment, and I need to be ready with either I need a part to be replaced or I need to tweak certain settings or configuration on the equipment so that the operation stays up, because not only the uptime for an equipment is important, but the uptime of the complete production is important in the field of oil and gas. So from that perspective, you can gain tangible values if you're exploring, researching, and producing certain models and AI in this space. Like you mentioned, risk management. So all the surrounding information, if that information is available to a technician, then you're mitigating a lot of risk over there. Plus, you are also providing accurate, standardized information to your technicians if you're leveraging AI. So there are use cases around that as well. Plus, like I mentioned, if you're doing an edge computing, then you're pretty much protecting equipment's worst case scenarios that can happen with an equipment, right? And those are faster decisions. So from faster decisions to near real-time decisions to more reactive decisions, there are use cases that can unlock a power tangibly. If you're looking for outcome, which is either cost efficiency, but that's ROI related efficiencies, but there are efficiencies that you can gain from experience. That's return of experience, ROE, that a lot of people are using this term. That how well interaction we had, a job that's been done, looking into all the information that wasn't available previously, but now with all the advanced system tools and analytics available to you, you can draw a good insight from there and maybe do your operation better. The experience of a technician while doing operation related activity or maintenance related activity, that has improved. He's doing the job faster. He or she is doing the job faster and safer. So that's an experience related tangible values that you're gaining. Plus, since you're doing it faster, you're saving a lot of cost. You're saving cost from not bleeding money in maintaining the equipment or doing a task which is operator is losing money because they are not able to operate. And then we are also, as a contractual agreement, we are also binded by that. So we are also draining money in there. So there are use cases. AI is, we are exploring AI and researching in all the areas from IoT, from real-time analytics, from reactive analytics, diagnostic, recommendations that you can provide, but keeping human in the loop. Ultimately, their experience is going to play a critical role in taking the final decision of what needs to be done.
Excellent. So talking about another pressing issue, which is methane emission monitoring. It's been huge for mainstream companies. How is AI addressing both technical and regulatory challenges associated with it?
Well, I can see it from a lens of reactive versus proactive. Right.
Okay.
And if it's an emission, then you're measuring, you're checking how much emission is happening. Is it under normal condition? Is it under regulatory limits that we have? And if we are reaching limits that we're not supposed to use or not supposed to be in, then you can build a model that can predict the rate of emission that's happening and then alert you in advance. Or you can build a simple rule-based system. But I will again say that it's a simple answer. AI can predict better and faster than a rule-based system. So what actions you need to take in advance ahead of time when certain things are going to happen in future. And this is where the value comes in.
All right. So though we have the min and max limits, but with the introduction of AI, we'll be able to see anything that's going to run into a situation. Is that what you were referring to?
That's exactly right. So you can build a system or you can design a system that is reactive in nature, right? And say, okay, once the limit has crossed, now I'm going to take an action because it's a rule designed on the system. Now, there are systems such as AI that can predict in advance and certain hours in advance that this is what going to happen if you're designing your AI system, looking into historic information that was available, that this is what going to happen in the future because it has seen certain conditions happening.
Exactly.
And you can prevent it. And you can be more proactive to be in the compliance side of it than uncompliance side of it.
Exactly. So it's interesting, the framework that you have, proactive versus reactive. I really like it, the way when we approach introduction of these new technologies in there and how we establish the process around it. That's a nice way of looking into it. And these are a huge leap. What you're talking now, which you already said, the areas that you're exploring now, introduction of these technologies within the org. And these are a huge leap towards building analytical capability within the organization. But they raise the question of how organizations keep up with this fast-paced technological innovation while staying aligned with the strategic goals. Let's explore that a little bit. How do organizations ensure these new technologies not only improve performance, but also align with the long-term strategic goals?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is hidden in the statement itself. Like, you start with your long-term strategic goals, your objectives that you want to attain. Again, that if that becomes your maturity level, you observe where you are in terms of it and what all components and elements you need from point A to point B. You need to think, okay, if I am currently using just a traditional method of data processing, I'm using simple databases, is it going to fulfill the need? If the data volume grows faster, have I done the research what the data volume and processing is going to look like from 6 months and year from 2 years from now on? And you can read the rate of the data that is getting generated from different source of system, because you're not just talking about in the space of IoT, you're also talking about every process is getting digitized, whether it's the CRM system, ERP system, or any other system where the data moves very slowly. They also grow.
Right.
We generate a lot of reports on top of it. So you need a system or a platform that can not only solve the purpose of your reporting, which is only display side of it, or I'll say reporting side of it, or reactive side of it. And from there on, you go into the territory of diagnostics. Okay, I'm looking into my report and some numbers are not looking good. What is causing the problem? And as you pose that question, you then circle back. There is a feedback loop that can either point out towards the people interacting with the process, or they can point to a process itself, whether the process is laid out efficiently. And then the data is just the result and the reflection of people either interacting with the data or with the process when they're entering any data in the system, or either your IoT system, which is generating data without any human interaction, whether the sensor is bad or sensor is good, and you can detect some of the outliers. But that's more on the diagnostic side of it. You take one step further. Now you are in the realm of proactive. You're building machine learning models, either your AI models, either your AI model performing well and they're not performing well. If they're not performing well, you follow that loop again. You try to find out whether it's a human in the loop, it's a process that hasn't attained the maturity. And once you solve a system, people, process loop, and you observe your data, and you measure it, how well it's been generated, then you build a model on top of it. And I'm sure your model will start doing better. But that whole maturity needs to be attained. The vision needs to be there from where we want to go. If operational excellency is the vision, or if Risk mitigation is the result. Again, the source of, you need to focus not just towards the end of it where you're generating the insight, but to the source of it as well. All these aspects will come into the picture. That's the soul of the whole process.
Right. So I consistently observed it. I had opportunity to work with different organizations, different maturity levels, with leaders in the industry and companies that are very heavily process oriented. Legacy infrastructure, as we all know, it's poses challenge when integrating, especially with these advanced AI ML systems. What are some common obstacles and how do you overcome them?
Well, so you need to build your system flexible, nimble enough that they can accommodate changes faster, because that's the reality. That's how when I mentioned about in my previous conversation or answer is it's an iterative cycle. And if any system that becomes a roadblock in that iterative cycle, whether it's people, process, or your platform system, then you need to fix them, because you're going to observe symptoms somewhere in that whole cycle. Right. So whether if the bad process that are matured enough that you can't change it, that's a problem, or you have laid out your process efficient enough that they can adopt the changes. That's another side of it. Right. So the bigger organization, the problem with them that they may have matured in their processes, but they are laid out in a time when it was efficient, but it's no more efficient. On the other side of the spectrum, some of the mid-tier companies or the lower-tier companies, they don't have a standard process. Right. They're struggling to implement a standard process. So they have to bring flexibility, but then they don't bring maturity in the right processes. Right. And then the issues that they are seeing is in the data. And then they are saying, hey, the data is garbage in, garbage out. I'm not able to generate the AI results. And then the things goes on. But ultimately, you need to see the source of it. Process, maturing an efficient process is the key. Interaction with the process is the key. You will see the symptoms in the data. And if you're measuring all three of them, then I'm sure you will see some good outcomes with that. Yeah, the leaders like you in this industry, that's infrastructure posing a significant challenge. On the other side, integrating AI into the infrastructure is increasingly seen as essential to drive efficiency, sustainability, competitiveness, and everything. So it's a fine line all you leaders need to walk through. That's really a difficult one for sure. Yes, it is. And if you talk to your CIO directly, or leadership team or board members and all of them, say, what are we doing with the AI? So the question should be asked, not what are we doing with the AI? It's like, what can we do with the AI? Ask your leaders in each department, whether it's a finance, accounting, different departments, what are the problems you see in your day-to-day life? That becomes your opportunity. And then you define your objectives from there and see, okay, let me see end-to-end picture. Correct. What is the process that is laid out? How many people are interacting with the process? What is the level of automation I can bring on in those processes? And how much standardization I can bring in the data? Then the data is getting stored if you have advanced infrastructure that you have laid out, because that's critical part. Traditional infrastructure is not going to cut it. As you're saying, that it will become a bottleneck. It will be your roadblock. So you need to advance in this space as well. If you truly want to a question how AI is going to unlock a value, you need to see the end-to-end cycle and mature every spot, every places where data is getting transited. And that's when you will start seeing some values is what can we now do with AI in the system? What else can we do well with AI in the system? And it's not going to completely replace human. I think human are still going to be in the loop, but it will become our subordinate. It will become our co-pilot in nature, that, we will become more efficient. We will do our job better and faster in more standard manner. And that should be the goal of every organization, that how well we are using our resources that are available to us.
Of course. So one other thing I wanted to ask you is the midstream sector is under growing pressure to adapt to sustainable practices, which is not an immediate ROI, but you have a big demand to comply with those practices, basically, right? What role does AI play in reducing emissions and improving environmental compliances?
I'm going to use from the lens of a technician going and complying, making sure that we are compliant in every aspect. And then we are setting up our infrastructure or a surrounding in a way that it's completely compliant, right? So what do you need? If I ask you a question, if you need to bring in an AI into a picture, you need to measure everything, right? All your surrounding and everything, whether it's job hazard related information, you need to measure and then store it. Once you have stored it, then again, you need to provide that information at the right time when it's needed the most. And who do you need to provide? You need to ask those questions, like people who are working closer to the operation, to the equipments and all. So, and they are the one who are going to control everything, the whole surrounding environment. But now if the system is advanced enough that can take a call, then you need to go for it, because that will be the ultimate protection, is more proactive protection from any incident to happen. Then decision science needs to be applied to the source of the system, right? But if there are certain things with data growing exponentially, and then you want to serve that data to a technician or people who are working in the field, that's plethora of information that you can pass on. So you need to be mindful of that. You're at least providing the critical and crucial information, leveraging AI to them. And this is where you can be more compliant and more proactive in all the regulation and compliance that's been thrown at you.
Exactly. So what's important is that staying on the top of it and evolve as the time goes by. I'm happy that industry is moving in an advanced level in terms of analytical capabilities. And looking ahead, what trends and innovations do you see shaping the future? What is your vision of the future?
So humans are still going to be in the loop. They will become more efficient. They will become more faster in doing their job. I do see digital twin playing a critical role in the midstream. I see some simulation system that you can simulate certain scenario and study the surrounding and equipments, and that will be a next step to a simulation. I also see a role of virtual reality in terms of training and setting up simulated environment where you are providing training, what needs to be done. I see role of that as well. And then most likely it's going to be AI near to the edge computing, protecting and controlling a lot of things, and decision science side of it. That's what I'm observing.
So Kunal, with all these changes and opportunities on the horizon, leaders have a critical role to play in driving successful AI integrations. What advice would you offer to CXOs and industry leaders looking to navigate this transformation?
Look for opportunities in each department where you can reduce or remove a pain point of either your productive worker, labor, or in any other process or system. And AI can, and then that becomes your opportunity, and tie it with your vision where you want to take your industry. And then start working on a roadmap that how you're going to implement those each areas, how you're going to improve processes, how you're going to improve people interacting, providing them training, how you're going to standardize that information that's been entered into the system, how well you're going to process the information, your data lake system. Centralization of data is crucial. Storage system, retentions of data is crucial because there is a legal aspect to that as well. Archiving them is crucial because you don't bleed money in that way. And then once you have attained the correct architecture platform, then start with piloting some AI use cases where you observe value gain.
Great. Those are incredibly insightful advice. As we wrap up this insightful discussion, I think one thing really stand out. The midstream sector is in the middle of a major transformation. AI, data, and IoT aren't just helping companies do things faster and more efficiently. They're reshaping how this industry tackle challenges, whether it's optimizing operations, preventing equipment failures, or reducing emissions. But I also want to mention it's not just about the tech. It's also about leaders embrace these tools, adapt to change, and set their sights on more sustainable, forward-thinking future. As you mentioned, it's a balancing act, leveraging cutting-edge solutions while working with the legacy systems and staying tuned to long-term goals. Hey, Kunal, thank you so much for such a thoughtful and inspiring discussion. And to everyone listening, I hope this gives you a fresh perspective on how innovation is shaping the energy industry. Until next time, let's keep exploring what's possible together.
But thank you for inviting, and I hope this is a valuable podcast for everybody who is listening.
Absolutely. If you like today's podcast, please be sure to leave a 5-star review. Your feedback is important. We always look for comments and recommendations to improve. This show is available on Apple Podcast, Google, and SoundCloud. Please do subscribe. Plus, you can find us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and on YouTube. You can find the links to these pages in the show notes or by visiting us at aisuccessfactors.com. We publish episodes bi-weekly on Wednesdays. Please be sure to tune in for the next episode. Thank you and see you next time.